Hello, I'm Charlie Brooker and you're watching Newswipe, a programme all about what's been happening, like this. Dyslexic protesters brand Blair a raw criminal with bald on his hands. Ben Kingsley and Gordon Brown vow to kiss and make up with Taliban as Clinton and Miliband reach first base. And world gasps as nerd unveils most expensive rectangle in history. But we start by looking at the Haiti disaster. Yes, recently the news has been filled with scenes of unimaginable horror and unbearable suffering. On the whole, the reporters themselves have been remarkably stoic in the face of events that would traumatise anyone. Some actively stepped in, leading to astonishing scenes like this, in which CNN health correspondent and neurosurgeon Sanjay Gupta cared for an injured baby in the street. Obviously, faced with scenes like this, the world wanted to do something to help. In the US, 3 whole presidents came together in scenes which were vaguely reminiscent of a Doctor Who 3 Doctors special. America's aid contribution was far greater than any other country, a disparity which so enraged right-wing blowhard Bill O'Reilly he complained about it on his nightly Festival of Bellowing on Fox News.
The benevolent nature of China has pledged little more than $5 million in cash and aid. I mean, how generous is that? Russia pledging 1 mobile hospital and 20 doctors. Putin's another Mother Teresa, isn't he?
Come on, Bill, every little helps.
That great humanitarian Hugo Chavez in Venezuela, sending 1 plane full of relief supplies. You know what, Hugo? Keep your stupid plane.
No, fly it to where it's needed. To be fair to O'Reilly, he did go on to urge his viewers to donate even more money. And in astonishing scenes carefully outlined on the informative Russia Today, Hugo one-plane Chavez went on to blame America for causing the disaster by testing an earthquake-inducing superweapon.
Yes, but this time it was only a drill, and the final target is destroying and taking over Iran.
Modern news always needs to fashion events into a compelling narrative, and the Haiti story was no different. Once it had shown us distressing scenes of overrun hospitals and rubble for several nights, it needed a fresh angle. And so began the search for signs of conflict. Obviously, a massive aid effort organised at short notice in a country whose infrastructure has been destroyed is going to be a logistical nightmare, and there was much coverage criticising the slow distribution of aid. But one of the things holding up the aid was the fear of violence, which the news also seemed fascinated by. The moment footage of sporadic but inevitable scuffles arrived, it was seized on as evidence that the whole of Haiti was about to descend into barbarism.
But with aid struggling to get through, the country is spiralling out of control.
Haiti now is not just a tinderbox of simmering desperation and anxiety. It's possibly just one step from something very ugly indeed.
At times the news seemed to frame the threat of violence not as a possibility in any society that's hit by a massive disaster, but as something unique to Haiti itself.
There's this ugly undercurrent, sadly, within Haitian history, which has the ability to turn, it has the ability to quite literally fight for survival. Hence you're seeing not just doctors and aid workers on the streets, but riot police too.
The ugly undercurrent in Haitian history presumably distinguishes it from Britain, a nation whose own history consists of millennia of uninterrupted peace. Still, whatever, here's some angry foreigners.
What he says is hard to understand. It almost doesn't matter.
If you say so. Sky occasionally seemed curiously disapproving of people forced to scavenge for anything they could find.
They scramble over an assault course of destruction to get at anything they can. Watch this. And this. Perhaps the US military should. They don't seem to think there's a problem.
Yeah, well, maybe they've got a clearer idea of the bigger picture than you have. Just a thought. In fairness, dislocation could be a factor here. The reporter wasn't in Haiti, but in Britain, revoicing images seen on a monitor. Images are always open to interpretation. Take this shot from another Sky News report.
These people aren't even vainly hoping for food. They're fighting over cardboard boxes to use as shelter.
Are they fighting, or are they throwing the boxes to try and break and flatten them to use as shelter and sunscreens, as we saw them doing in other reports? Check out the guy in the green t-shirt and his mate in the stripy blue top. They're clearly having a laugh batting these boxes around. Surely that's the very definition of being good-natured in a crisis. Sky weren't the only ones to focus on the violence. On the BBC's News at 10, George Alagaya stood live in the street to say,
There have been increasing signs of tension and anger on the streets here, but I think to call it all criminality or looting, I think that would be an exaggeration.
But apparently reporter Matt Fry hadn't got that memo.
Looting is now the only industry here, and this is the new rush hour of Port-au-Prince. Anything will do as a weapon. A hacksaw, a stick, and of course all the machetes and guns that you can't see. It's just a foretaste of things to come.
The occasionally feverish tone of some of the coverage angered DJ and world music guru Andy Kershaw so much he wrote a furious article for the Independent newspaper about it, accusing the media of treating the Haitians like savages. Perhaps surprisingly, some of the most measured comments about the use of violent footage came from Fox News.
We've seen video of sporadic violence, but you know, the camera can sometimes enlighten us and it can sometimes distort the truth.
Yes, there are these isolated incidents of violence and the cameras tend to gravitate towards those and highlight them, magnify them because of that. The people of Haiti really are dealing with this with an admirable dignity and sense of calm.
Casting scavengers as looters and highlighting a supposed descent into lawlessness doesn't just make news reports more dramatic. It also has the side effect of benefiting private security contractors. Some of them quickly leapt online to offer their armed defence services to those seeking to rebuild Haiti, as we can see in this depressing clip from MSNBC's left-leaning Rachel Maddow show.
The company that registered HaitiSecurity.com is literally offering that on their website. High-threat terminations.
Just to be clear, the vast majority of BBC, ITN and Sky's coverage of the disaster has been exemplary. They also undoubtedly helped raise a lot of money by repeatedly plugging the appeal details. Everywhere you looked there was a message telling you to call DEC. It was a bit like looking at post-it notes on Ant's fridge. Speaking of aid, in the wake of any major catastrophe, people ask why God didn't intervene. This time, however, Sky were there to capture the glitzy moment. God himself turned up and announced he was going to do something about it.
I don't know who's available, but I will get a record out within 7 to 10 days.
ITN feverishly watched as Simon Cowell assembled a charity single after someone less powerful than himself, some bloke called Gordon Brown, apparently, asked him to help out. We were told an impressive roster of top stars, including Jalus and Lion Girl, would appear on the single, although Sky's Cade Burley seemed most excited at the prospect of one phallocentric performer sticking his oar in.
Nothing like a bit of rod, is there?
The song picked was R.E.M's Everybody Hurts, a soaring and soulful number about the possibility of hope, but a choice that caused heated debate on the set of Live from Studio 5.
The song, it's quite deep, isn't it? It's quite...
I
thought it might have been more of a uplifting, kind of like inspirational kind of song.
What, something like Come On Eileen, yeah?
By the time they put all the footage and that on it, it might probably make you cry, wouldn't it?
Yeah, probably will.
I think it's a little bit too sad.
How can it be too sad, though?
But it's such a sad thing that's going on. I think perhaps people need something a little bit uplifting, a little bit inspiring to say, you know, we can get through this, we're going to help out and all come together. And instead, I'm just like, God, it's just so depressing, really.
God, it is depressing. Oh, wait! Look, don't miss Joe Swash!
Joe Swash, there he is, hello!
While the children debated Simon's song choice, across the pond, even bigger stars than Joe Swash were gathering for a glittering live 2-hour telethon. The lineup included literally every musician you could ever want to hear, and Sting. Hollywood did its bit too. Brad Pitt beamed down looking like a man from the future. In fact, the cream of Movieland was there, manning the most star-studded call centre in history. There was Steven Spielberg off Jurassic Park, he was there. Pretty Woman, Julia Roberts. Even Taylor Swift off the VMA Awards.
Hello, this is Taylor Swift.
Oh, yo, Taylor, I'm really happy for you. I'ma let you finish, but Beyonce had one of the best videos of all time.
As we've seen there, celebrities can be incredibly useful when it comes to raising huge amounts of money for charity. But are famous people always the best champions for every cause? Here's journalist Marina Hyde with her personal view.
Celebrities have always been involved in the news to some degree, and you've often seen people in the past, attach themselves to particular charities and causes. But I think the last 10 years, it's become completely ridiculous. When Tony Blair had that Cool Britannia party shortly after taking office, and you had the Gallaghers there and various other sort of people who have now passed rather into the where are they now files. I think that's a real mark of where celebrities began to be brought into almost every debate.
Does Mr. Blair meet your fashion standards?
No, absolutely not.
Why not?
I prefer John Major even, no, really.
What's fundamentally wrong with a lot of celebrity activism is that they are simply not experts in the subject. They crowd much more intelligent voices out of the discourse, and often there can be such a huge dissonance between their lifestyle and the cause they're promoting that it totally undermines their message.
The first day of a new job for the former Spice Girl, Geri Halliwell, has got off to a rather bumpy start.
Geri Halliwell is one of these ridiculous modern sort of confections, really, a UN goodwill ambassador, which don't change very much except perhaps the definition of goodwill. I think to say that Geri dumbs down the debate implies that she can even frame the debate at all.
See, I believe that everybody deserves to have control of their life.
About 10 years ago, the presence of a celebrity, say, in a war-torn area, might be used as an excuse to mention more about what was happening there. Increasingly, it now feels as if those kind of current events are being used just as an excuse to talk about the celebrity. So when Geri goes to visit Nepal, far from us talking much more about Nepal and her campaign or whatever against violence against women, you just end up seeing her take in various pictures, various outfits, and the sort of plot device for why she was there is entirely forgotten. When she came back, it became just the excuse for another round of Geri Halliwell's sort of talk show appearances, where she went on to the cosy daytime sofa programme This Morning, Housewives' favourite, and said, you know, it was really important having that diplomatic presence there, that Western presence.
My presence apparently gave the confidence for that new Prime Minister, and it's a coalition, so he's under a lot of pressure to speak out about, you know, violence against women, because there was a Western presence there. He suddenly thought, OK, this is cool to do it.
You think, hang on, a Western presence used to be like Madeleine Albright or just someone from the State Department. It's now Ginger Spice. The International Day of Peace is a sort of UN-backed initiative for there to be peace across war zones for one day where people can go and do things like get vaccinated. Jeremy Gilley is a filmmaker who didn't actually come up with the day but began a campaign to get it better recognised around the world, which he's made 2 documentaries about.
In July 1998, I decided to make a film about peace.
His campaigning's achieved a lot. However, very simplistically, Jeremy Gilley's main tools appear to be the use of celebrities, who he seems to think is to be some sort of magic key that will unlock world peace. I've actually complicated his vision there.
This was unbelievable. Angelina Jolie was sat on my sofa asking me what she could do.
There's this spectacular cringe-making scene where Jude Law and Jeremy have just been having their photos taken there, and in these kind of matching T-shirts that say peace one day, like those Mummy's Little Helper T-shirts you get in gift shops. And Jude says, so where are you going next, mate? And he goes, I'm going to Afghanistan. He goes, oh my God, when? Can I come?
Where are you going next?
I'm going to Afghanistan next.
Afghanistan is when? July?
Huh?
July?
What's that?
Afghanistan?
Yeah, Afghanistan, yeah.
That's astonishing. I mean, how did you even start?
Yeah, you come with me if you want.
In July? I'm not doing anything in July.
Well, you could come.
How long will you go for?
About 8 days.
Which 8 days?
About July 20th, July 28th.
And you think, oh my God, I know Afghanistan's in trouble, but just how in trouble has just been underlined to me. He takes Jude to Afghanistan, where they spread the word about Peace Day.
There is now a Peace Day. Will they tell the children on the 21st of September that it's Peace Day?
While they're out there, Sky News consulted Jude Law about the situation in Afghanistan.
Have things changed there since you last visited, Jude?
The fortification of the whole city has expanded by 2 times, maybe 3 times.
You think, my God, a Sky News asking the star of a remake of Alfie for a sort of, you know, strategic assessment of how the war's going in Kabul. I think very rarely there will be an exception, someone like Joanna Lumley, who clearly, when she was supporting her Gurkhas campaign, knew more about the subject than most of the people in front of whom she appeared, certainly more than the government minister with responsibility for the issue.
They're all agreed that we are going to be able to help in the formation of new guidelines. So that'll be wonderful.
She was one of those people who was able to bring about change, and I thought she did brilliantly. But for every one of her, there was 100 others just sort of lumbering around the world, I think perhaps often making things worse.
You know, sometimes you see something that makes you realise the fusion of news and celebrity really has gone too far.
I'm John, I'm Edward, and you're watching Sky News. For the latest, I'm John and Edward.
Yes, these days you're as likely to bump into a celebrity on a current affairs show as you are down the Groucho. Actually, more likely, because they wouldn't let you into the Groucho, you pleb. Stop!